All right, welcome back to section 3 in Photoshop menu keyboard shortcuts. So in this lecture, we're going to talk about file menu keyboard shortcuts. So let's head over to Photoshop, which I've already opened. And what I want you to do is create a new document. So click on Create New. And we're going to just create a default Photoshop size document. I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to talk about the keyboard shortcuts. So I'm not going to show you the menu. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the keyboard shortcuts. And I want you to watch down here. The keyboard shortcuts are going to pop up here. And then you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, so the first keyboard shortcut I'm going to go over is New. So I'm going to hit Control N. And what that's going to do is it's going to prompt you to create a document. So you can do the same document as we did or a different one. In this case, we're just going to do the same one. So I'll hit OK. And now we have document 2. Now, the next keyboard shortcut is Control O. So if I do that, and I'm going to do one other thing here. Let me save this file. Save as. And we're going to go to the desktop and hit save. And please do this with me. Now I'm going to hit Control O. And now I can open up the untitled document. There you go. The next thing that we can do, and this only pertains to folks with Adobe Bridge, is if you hit Control Alt O, it's going to pop up Adobe Bridge. Now, if you don't have it installed, then this will not work. But I just wanted to show you that option because, again, I'm going through all the keyboard shortcuts in the file menu. So I'm going to close out Untitled 2. Okay, and the next keyboard shortcut we're going to do is Open As. So we're going to do Alt Shift Control O. And I'm going to open up Untitled 2. And it's basically the same function as Open. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to close this right here without touching this document here. I'm just going to close this one. So we're going to hit Control W. Okay. Now what I want you to do is use one of the keyboard shortcuts that we've already used, Control O, open up Untitled 2, and now we're going to learn the next keyboard shortcut, which is Close All. So we're going to do Alt Control W, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to close all your documents out. So document 1 or Untitled 1 we lost because we didn't save it. So I'm going to go File, Save As. We're going to save it on the desktop. And then I want you to hit Control O and open up Untitled 2. Okay. The next keyboard shortcut that we're going to talk about is Close and Go to Bridge. Okay. So let's hit Shift Control W. Okay. So what that's going to do, it should close everything and then take you to Bridge. Now I didn't do that, which is okay. We're going to do it one more time. So I'm going to hit Control O and I'm going to highlight both of them so they both open. And we're going to try that again just to see if it was a instructor error or something else. So hit Shift Control W. Okay. So what the idea of this shortcut is, it will close the project that you're on and go to Bridge. Okay. So I'm going to close Untitled. Actually, we don't need to close this one. I'm going to hit Control N. We're going to make a new document. So I'm going to hit Control N. Try that again. There we go. And I'll name this Untitled 3. Okay. Now I'm going to hit Control S, which is our next keyboard shortcut for Save. And what that's going to do is it's going to save it. And if we want to save as, we're going to hit Shift Control S. Okay, and then we'll save it as Untitled 3. Because what it's going to do is when you create a new document, it's not going to allow you to save because you haven't saved as. You have to save as first, then you can save. Okay, now to revert, we're going to hit F12. Let's see if it lets me do it. I don't know if it will let me revert. Okay, so you can see here revert is not on. So essentially what revert does is if, let's say I make an error on here, and I go haywire and do this, and I go here, then I should be able to revert back. Okay. Let me see if it'll let me go undo revert. Okay. So to do a revert or to undo something, you hit F12. Okay. And that's going to revert back one spot. It won't let you revert again. It's only going to let you do it once. Okay. So the idea behind it is if you have one mistake that you made that you want to correct, that's the keyboard shortcut to use is revert. Export as. So let's say that I want to use the brush tool again. Okay, web. Okay, I'm just going to write out web. And we're going to save this, we're going to export as. So I'm going to hit Alt, Shift, Control, W. Okay. Now what that's going to do is allow me to export as, and I can select the format. So I can do PNG for web, JPEG, GIF, SVG for web. Okay. I can pick the best format that I want or need for that project and then export all. And then what it's going to do is if you do untitled 3, I'll hit save and it's going to export it out. So let's minimize that for a second. And it will just export it as a PNG. Okay. So that's how you export as. Okay. Now file info. If I want to check out the file info of this particular project, I hit Alt Shift Control. Oops, hold on a second. Alt Shift Control L. Okay. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do file info. So I'm going to click on it first just to make sure that I'm hitting the right thing, which I believe I am. So what I'm going to do is I think it's Control Alt Shift, whoops, here, Alt Shift Control I. There you go. So it's not L, it's actually I. My apologies for the confusion on that. But what that does is this will show you all the information, all the metadata on this document. Okay. And you can add metadata to it as well. So you can document title, author, description, rating, etc., keywords, all this jazz and stuff that's important. You can put it here. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is print. So if I hit Control P, then I can print, and you can see my printer here and the document here, and you can go through the rest of the prompts and all that stuff. To print one copy, we're going to hit Alt Shift Control P, and I don't know if you can hear that, but it's going right to my printer. So it's not even going to prompt you and let you do any options. It's just going to go right to your printer if it's set up, and it'll start printing. Okay, so that's print one copy. Now the last shortcut that we're going to learn is exit. So first what I want you to do is I want you to close all with Alt Control W. Okay, now it's going to prompt you to save, so say yes, and then hit Control X or Control Q. There you go. So that is the file menu keyboard shortcuts. We're going to talk about the edit menu shortcuts. So let's open up Photoshop if you haven't already. And the first thing I want you to do is create a new document. So we're going to use the keyboard shortcut that we learned in the previous lecture, Control N, to create a new document. Okay, so if I click inside of Photoshop and I hit Control N, we're going to give it a name of Untitled 4. I'm going to hit OK. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control Shift S to save, and we're going to save this on the desktop. And now what I need to do is I need to create some content so we can learn about the edit menu shortcuts, because the ones we're going to be focusing on here is undo, redo, toggle last state, fade, cut, copy, copy merge, paste, and paste special. Those are the first couple that we're going to talk about. So what I want to do is I'm going to create a couple layers here. So go right down here and click on create a new layer. And I'm going to grab the paintbrush and we're going to kind of go like this. And then I'm going to grab another layer. I'm going to change the color to black, and then we're going to do that. And then I'll do one more, and let's just pick red. That's fine. And we'll do the same thing, okay? Now, so we've created 3 layers. So to undo something, we're going to hit Control Z. Okay, so that's the first thing. So you can see undo new layer. Now, if we wanted to redo that, we're going to hit Shift Control Z, and that will redo what we just undid. Okay. To toggle the last state, we're going to hit Alt Control Z. So that's going to undo it again. And then to redo it, we're just going to do Control Shift Z. Okay. So basically what this does is it redos and undoes what we did. And this is important because when you're working with multiple layers and you're editing, let's say you're editing a picture and you're touching something up and you do 50 touch-ups, sometimes you're going to have to undo what you're doing. Okay? Once you get very good at it, you're going to do less, but you're still going to need that tool. It's a very important tool in Photoshop. Okay? So, to do fade, we're going to hit Shift Control F. Okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to pop up here and you can select the mode and we can edit the fade. Okay, so what it's doing is we have this one layer selected, layer 3, and we're adding a fade to it. So we can fade it. We can change the mode. So we can do difference, we can do color burn. You know, you can do all sorts of fun stuff with that. Now, to undo that, what are we going to do? We're going to hit Control Z, and that's going to undo that effect. Okay. Now, to cut this layer, we're going to hit Control X. Okay. In fact, you're going to have to hit Control A to select all, and then Control X. Okay. Now, if you wanted to paste this on a new layer, let's say you wanted to paste it on layer 4, then what we're going to do is we're going to hit Control V. Okay. And if I wanted to paste it in place, we're going to hit Shift Control V. Okay. If I want to paste into, and I'm going to hide these 2 layers so we can see what we're doing, Alt Shift Control V to paste into. Okay. If we want to search, we're going to hit Control F. Okay. So we can search inside of Photoshop for different things. Okay, so if I hit that again, it'll disappear. Content aware scale. If you hit Alt Shift Control C, okay, now we know what the content aware scale is, basically, where you can see the border of the layer. Okay, the other way to do that is Control T, which is the transform tool. Okay, but that's actually what I'm going to be talking right now. Next is the free transform tool is Control T, and what that's going to do is let you move it around, resize it, etc. So we can change it and move it over here in the corner. Okay. If I hit again, so Shift Control T, I can shrink it down multiple times. So if I hit Control Z and bring it back up, and then I want to bring it down one, I hit Control Shift. Well, actually Shift Control T. Either way it works. Control Shift T or Shift Control T. And what it's going to do is it's going to proportionally drop the size down. Okay. So if I do undo, actually let's redo it. So if I do Control Shift Z again, there we go. And then do Control Shift T, bring that down. Then I can go to this layer, the black brush here, and do the same thing. Okay, and bring that down to size. And then Control T to transform it or move it. And then there you go. So that is that. Now the color settings, we can do Shift Control K, and then you can edit the color settings. Okay. Now you're wondering why is this sequence this way? Well, the reason why it's that way is all the keyboard shortcuts are right here. Okay, that we're going over. And now we're going to talk about keyboard shortcuts. So in order to get there, we're going to do Alt, Shift, Control, K. Okay, that's going to take you to the keyboard shortcuts and menus. And what you can do in here, we're on the tools right now, but if I go to application menus, we're in the edit menu right now. You can see all the keyboard shortcuts right here. Okay, and you can add to that. You can click on one, add a keyboard shortcut. I'm not going to do that at this point, but that is a possibility of, changing up the keyboard shortcuts. I want to keep it as default right now so you can learn the ones that they have, and as you're comfortable, then you can move on to that if you see fit. Okay, so I'm going to go to menus, and so like I said, you can go to any menu here and you can edit the Photoshop default keyboard shortcuts to whatever you want. So if you wanted to change something, you could. Okay, so that's the keyboard shortcuts and the menus. So let me go rewind for a second. If I hit Alt Shift Control K, that takes me to keyboard shortcuts. Okay, if I hit Alt Shift Control M, that takes me to the menu section of that. And if I hit Control K, that takes me to preferences. So that will take me right to preferences, and then I can go in and I can work on whatever I need to in preferences. Okay? So that's the edit menu keyboard shortcuts. All right, so thanks for watching this lecture. I'll see you in the next lecture.